Alright, so we're back with the Team Associated RC10GT. We're working with the variants of the first generation and going to go over some differences in the bodies and what I'm going to do with what I have. In the last episode, I had converted this one here to electric using the custom colored carbon electric conversion kits. And I liked the way it came out so much, I picked up another one in silver and likewise another gold one. And there's a difference between the gold one I have installed and the one that I'm going to install, and I'll go over that. So since I had built the electric conversion, I also went ahead and picked up another RC10 GT from that generation. It's pretty much bone stock and it's pretty clean. So I'll do a full disassembly of this car and potentially do a conversion kit, or maybe I'll keep it nitro. The body is in good shape, but it almost has like dust stained onto it, if you will, so we'll have to see how that cleans up. And then I had also picked up this lot here for a very good price, and it came with some good stuff, including a second chassis. And after picking this up, I see that there's a difference. I think this is a 3mm chassis, or maybe 4mm, I don't know. Either way, it's thicker than this other one here, and the front bumper comes up, so there's a little bit of a difference, and we'll see what it all amounts to. So it came with a bunch of parts, some nice gold shocks as well. Previous owner installed this backwards. I think the silver trim would be facing rear, but it's very clean, you know. There's not a lot of damage on the bottom of this one, so this will be a really nice parts donor. I'm probably going to use this one to do the second gold conversion, and then I'll repurpose this shock tower. It also has the front one here. It came with this body. I think this is for a low C, but yeah, came with some parts, some engine mounts, brakes, some linkage, there's a couple of plastics, turnbuckle, some chassis mounts. This is a nice foam, and some little bits there. Traxxas engine, Team Associated pull start, as an electric conversion kit. It's probably what the person was going to do here. Came with some little screws. Not sure what they would go to. And it came with the collet, brand new in package. That's something it's pretty cool to just have. I probably won't open this. I have plenty of these, so just add that to the collection. And then it also came with some wheels. These actually are trash. Just throw those away. But these tires are pretty nice. They're a little stiff, but definitely still usable. These are, I think they're low C tires. Yeah. These still feel good. They've got life in them. And these feel a little dry, but I think maybe some WD-40 will liven them up. So this seems to be a good set. So that's all of this stuff came in a lot, and then I got this one from Marketplace. But yeah, there's a difference here with the J Concepts bodies and I noticed it after getting one of each. And the difference is this one here calls for the wide shock tower, and this one here calls for the narrow shock tower in the rear. So I've got the stock Team Associated body as well, just because I wasn't sure like what the dimensions were, and then after looking at eBay at a bunch of different ones, I actually noticed the difference in the rear shock tower, and then I looked at what the listings are for this company, and I noticed that they make the rear shock tower in the narrow as well. So I asked them if they could put together a conversion kit with the rear narrow shock tower, and he said yes, no problem. I was able to pick that up. So that's what I'm gonna do here. Well, I'm gonna do the same thing with this gold kit on this new donor with the narrow rear shock tower. And then after I do that conversion, I'll go over with excuse me, I'll go over what I have left. So that's what I've got to start with. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to start, but that's the plan pretty much. So I'll probably just clean off the bench and throw one of the trucks up here and begin there. Alright, I've got all that stuff set aside. I've decided I'm going to start with the gold electric conversion kit on the new donor. That way I can get the conversion out of the way and figure what I'm gonna do with the nitro and the other donor nitro. Am I gonna convert this to the silver kit, or am I gonna just refurbish it and drive it as it is? So we'll see. But I think a good starting point will be getting this conversion kit started. It's already got the gold shocks on there. They feel good. Some flat spots on that rear tire, so the wheels will definitely need to be replaced. These are Traxxas wheels. I'm gonna replace those, use those on a Traxxas car. Get some nice wheels for these two Team Associateds. I don't know if I'm gonna go J Concepts or try to do some stock wheels, maybe different tires. We'll see. So I'm actually gonna go over what comes in the kit a little more than I did in the last video about the conversion. So you'll see what we're working with. I'll show the difference between the shock towers, because that's one thing I learned the hard way after getting a bunch of different bodies. So you'll definitely want to check them out on eBay. Really good company. They make a really great product, and you can just reach out to them on Instagram, and he'll respond to you accordingly. So these basically are kits that he sells individually, but there's a bundle pack which you see that I had got a couple sets of. So the main difference here is in the shock tower pack. He makes two different ones, one with the narrow set and one with the wide set. You can see here that the shock towers are different. Still comes with this stabilizer. The fronts are a little different, so that's the difference between these two sets. And it was nice of him to make this for me, so that way I can use different body. So with the bodies, this is what they are. They're from J Concepts. I'm actually really disappointed with these. I was expecting the decal sheet to be more detailed than that, including, you know, the grille and front bumper as advertised in the photo online, and this is what it comes with. I figured it was a mistake. I bought this body first, and after I realized I needed a different shock tower, and that's the difference, I went ahead and purchased not just one but two of these, thinking that the decals would have, you know, everything included, and I'll show you that that is not true. The second one I got, you can see it's still brand new in package. I haven't opened it, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, they decided not to include that decal, and I don't understand why. I'm not sure why they would assume we have those decals, or I think that, you know, maybe they were assuming everybody who's buying these is going to be doing hand painting, but that would be incorrect. So you can see here in the Team Associated branded body, it comes with all of those stickers. So I'm not quite sure why J Concepts did not include those here. So we'll just paint them up, and I'll probably message them, see what the deal is about that. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but you know, there's got to be a reason. It's obviously three bodies without those decals. So anyways, enough about that. Let's get building this. Get the gold one installed in that donor car. Alright, here's the part numbers. And get to decide if I'm going to start with the rear or with the front. I went ahead and spun this, and you can see that the gear is spinning freely. Maybe that's just because it's not tightened all the way up. I don't know, I have to investigate this. I don't really remember this transmission right off the top of my head, so maybe I'll just start with the rear just to get that out of the way, because another thing I noticed is that rear hinge pin is longer than it's supposed to be, so I'll have to see if I have any extra of those in the stash. So yeah, perhaps I'll just start with the rear. That way I can kind of get the harder part out of the way, and it's gonna look good. It's kind of nice. I think that the I think that the previous owner was gonna do the electric conversion, so it's nice to be able to start from this point, and the fact that it's so clean is good as well. So without further ado, let's crack into this rear end here and get this nice bling on there. Alright, so we've broken into the rear end. I have not been able to find a hinge pin yet that's the right size. I'll have to look a little further into that, see what I got in the stash. The inside of the transmission case seems to be nice. It looks like the previous owner did good up until that point, but I'm not sure what's going on with this diff, so I'm gonna have to pull this apart and see what's going on. I noticed that on the right side, you see the drive cup doesn't have those tabs as you see on the left side, so something might be messed up with the plastics that the screws go into. I forget the term for it, so I have to look into this, and also potentially just swap it out for this one. You can see that the plastics are there on both sides, so I'm going to look into that, and that's pretty much where we're at so far. Probably replace the spare gear. I have to look into the slipper clutch and that whole setup again, because obviously this one's different. It's nice to have a reference. So we'll see about all that, but it's coming together nice. It'll be good to get this stuff back on the chassis and then get to the front end. The second one isn't quite as yellow as the first, but they still look great. Got the desk over here looking like I Spy, but I made some progress on the front end and the center. Unfortunately, the chassis holes don't quite line up, these two screws here, and they're just too close together on the carbon fiber, but it's okay, it works. But the third mounting point, which is the hole right there next to my thumb, unfortunately doesn't line up. So either I'm gonna have to drill that out a little more, or I can drill it out here and have just another hole right next to those battery screw mounting points. So that's just one of the difference between the chassis here. That issue didn't occur on the other chassis. As you can see, I didn't have to do anything to make it work. So when working with these kits, that is something that you may run into. Maybe he has a different battery mount that has holes that line up with this chassis. That I didn't discuss with him, so we'll see. But after cracking into this diff, there is the missing piece that covers the where is it? This screw. Like I said, it's like I Spy here. Oh, it's right here. I moved it over. So the diff that was in the transmission is missing that piece. The diff that came with spare parts is cleaner, but it doesn't have a bearing. It has a bushing. But the one that was in there has a bearing. So I'll take the bearing out of here, put it in there, grease those up a little bit more, and get this diff installed in the transmission. That way I can start fastening up the rear end and get that rear end here on the chassis. Unfortunately, one of the front hinge pins is bent, and it's just, I just don't want to use it. So I think I'm going to order a new set of hinge pins, because there's also an incorrect one there. So what I'll do is just build it to the most complete form I can, and then what I'll do is order the parts that I think I need, which really only is those hinge pins. Fortunately, I was able to source the steering servo mount from my spare parts, so that's good. We're making some progress here. The front arms are clean, it's just I need some hinge pins. So once I get the pins, we'll get the full suspension set up, but I just want to get the main part of the chassis done so we can move on and So I went ahead and rebuilt that differential, cleaned it up nice, re-greased it, and unfortunately it's not the right size. It just doesn't fit. So I will have to clean this one off and install it. The only thing that's missing is the cap to the T-nut. That's what that plastic nut that goes in the differential is called. So what I'll do is just clean this one off. I'm sure it'll be fine with the washers. So bushings, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So we'll get this cleaned up, rebuilt and installed, and borrow that cap from this one here, just so that it's a complete unit over here. And we'll have a nice clean diff for the future. Maybe this goes in a GT2. I'm not sure what the difference would be, so I'll look into that. But if you know, go ahead and chime in. So let's get that diff rebuilt. Alright, so I got that other differential broken down and cleaned up, and come to find out it's actually missing one of the 6 thrust bearing balls. It's missing the spring and the cap to the T-nut. So I'm going to just go ahead and take those parts that were good from this other smaller differential and just go ahead and install those on this one in order to keep the ball rolling with this project. I went ahead and researched the parts and they're still available. You can go ahead and get the exploded view on the Team Associated website, get the part numbers, throw them in eBay, and that's how you do it. So I can get those in the future. We'll have these for spares and we can get this transmission back together. So without further ado, so that diff cleaned up well, went together nice, feels nice and smooth. I put a little bit too much grease, but that's alright. The centrifugal force will spread it throughout the other gears. So it's ready for installation. We can get the rest of the transmission back together and on the chassis. I just wanted to show that this one is the right size. This clearly isn't, so I wonder what transmission it belongs to. Either way, it was nice to be able to at least get one full unit out of what I had, and it's nice to have some spares, and it's good to know that you can get these parts still on A-main. So I do a lot of eBay searches, though. I find eBay is good for searching for part numbers. Alright, so we got the transmission installed. The thing that took the longest was actually trimming the case in order for these metal spacers to contact correctly. So that's good. The next step is to get the spur gear installed. One thing you're going to want to note is to remove this hex so that there's no contact with the carbon fiber. Unfortunately, I'm missing the slipper clutch pad, so that's what I'll need in order to continue this. So I think that's a good point to stop. I'll go ahead and order those parts, and I'll get the bench cleaned up so that way I can work on something else in the meantime. It was really nice to have this as a reference. It was extremely helpful to be able to look at this and know if I'm doing it right or not. Another quick thing to note is that these shock collars are actually 3D printed. I didn't even notice that until I was about to install these shocks. Same on the rear. I'll probably just use some spacers. I don't think I'm gonna use those, but yeah, made some decent progress. Got some nice parts, so we'll move on for now. Come back with what we need to get this complete, and yeah, I hope going over this has been helpful for anyone else who's been working on these conversion kits. They're really nice, they look good, they're high quality. The guys at this company definitely know what they're doing. So that's it for now. Get this cleaned up and work on something else, and we'll see you soon with this RC10 electric conversion.